And we are just a couple of weeks away from the Mitre 10 Cup kicking off yet again. So we thought we would try and get around all of the head coaches, if we can, or all the coaches at least, of the Mitre 10 Cup provinces and have a chat and see how they are all tracking coming into this season. Obviously, it's been unprecedented and all of that kind of stuff, but it'll be back to the traditional rivalries in the Mitre 10 Cup. And we are starting in the Deep South with Southland head coach Dale MacLeod. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thanks, mate.
Look, obviously we had the lockdown, and we talked to you before about trying to keep in touch with all of the players and stuff. But you managed to complete a club competition. How did I see that that Woodlands won that one. How did you enjoy the boys getting out for that? Was it a good club competition this year?
Yeah, the club comp was it was good. It was short. It was compressed. I suppose the challenges was trying to fit a full couple of rounds and a final into 8 weeks, which was very challenging. And the boys actually went through 2 storm weeks. So they basically round 3, 4 and 5, and then they had round 6 off, then they went through the storm again. So it's tough enough to do it once in Mitre 10, but they did it twice on the club, and it wasn't ideal because we had a lot of injuries, or the clubs had a lot of injuries. If you looked at our wider training group, they'd been conditioned probably better than some of the boys going into the club comp. So it gave us a good chance to look at boys that could go through the grind of tough games week in, week out, and to be fair, it probably hindered the final. The result was a bit of a blowout for Woodlands, who were well off as far as injuries went. I think they picked it from a full squad, whereas leading into the last couple of weeks of the comp, some of the key teams that could have challenged them lost 4 or 5 players in key positions, and it had a massive impact on it. But as far as a Stags perspective, we got a real tough competition in a short period, and it's probably set the boys up better than heading into a Mitre 10 of a slow, long competition. So, as I've always stated, we're going to have to, we're preparing a group of boys on 10 weeks of Southland club footy to play against a group of teams that have had 10 weeks of Super Aotearoa. So, yeah, it's a challenge.
It is a challenge. You say that you picked most of your squad from the Galbraith Shield competition, or the Premiership competition down there. But I see you've also given the opportunity to a couple of boys from Division 1 as well. You've been happy to go down to Tianu and for Kane Prentice, and there was another player I noticed that was from Division 1. Yeah, you're happy to give. You're not forcing players to have to move up to that Premiership.
Oh well, look, there's I was really impressed. I went along and watched the Division 1 final, which was Midlands versus Tianau, and I was really impressed with the rugby I witnessed that night. And as part of the reward, there's always boys putting their hands up for opportunities, and we want to have a genuine pathway. So we've got 7 boys that were involved in the Division 1 comp, and we had our trial last night. Kane Prentice is he wasn't able to play because he's actually got a concussion and a neck issue, so that ruled him out. But Isaac Wyrell come in. He's been with us for our trial last night in our game in the against the Pacific Island team, and then we had 3 boys from the Midlands group that come in, and look, they've really impressed us with their attitudes and their work, and they just need to get on our development pathway and little simple things like getting in the gym, putting on some size. But as far as what they showed and their ability, we were really happy with what we saw. So that's real positive, and it's really good for our community, and really good that we are a whole province and not just a town province, that we are the country teams, and a lot of country teams play in that Division 1. And the success we're looking for and to grow is that we'll have an 8 to 10 week comp that'll have 3 or 4 good country sides in it, your Wintons, your Wyndhams, your Tianels, your Midland, so they're all pretty important. Your Edendale's going forward for our depth and our B team. So yeah, it's pretty positive.
That's great. And I also we've been covering a lot of the grassroots or club rugby. We try to get to as many games as we can. And one of the things that that Stephen and myself have been saying is that it's good to see people. For us, club rugby is about players playing with their mates, playing their community, and staying with their club for a long time. Having to have players have to move or always moving to go, oh, I want to try and get to another team to try and get recognised. It's good to see the recognition can happen. People can stay in their club. I think it's a great move from that, as well as it brings that community aspect to it. So you had you say you had a trial match last night. Did you play town versus country then, or how did you do?
No, so what we did was we picked two even groups from our wider training group, and the score was 38-35 was the final score. So it was a very very physical and skillful trial. We were really pleased with what we saw, and we didn't play any of our super boys or boys that are just arriving. It's just been our wider training group playing for the last 5 or 6 contracts, and yeah, it was good. So whereas the week before we played a trial and we're all together against the Pacific Island team, and then this week it was about splitting them, and we're taking 40 boys away to camp. And the idea of that is that a bit of recognition for the boys involved in our program that may not be with us when we name our squad on Monday, but they'll be part of what we're doing going forward. And then there's some boys that are coming away to camp which is totally around development, give them a taste, see what it looks like, and they'll be involved with our 19s and our Bs that are going to be playing a 3 to 4 game program. So it's all about getting our pathway and showing there is a true pathway through Southland rugby.
And also, yeah, having that extended camp, injuries will happen during the season. There is opportunities for those players to come in. So getting them to know how your line-out calls or those sort of things work is also a big thing. I was scanning through your wider training group and spotted the Mackenzie in the first 5/8, but I then had to quickly check myself because it's Matt Mackenzie, not Marty Mackenzie. So yeah, missing a player that he was playing for Woodlands, but say Marty Mackenzie not in your squad this year. He's doing a bit of farming.
Yeah, look, Marty's had 10 plus years of being a professional rugby player, and he probably got to the end of 2019, and with all the COVID and that, and he'd gone to Wales to Ospreys. He came back from there. He had an injury. It didn't go as according to plan for him over there. So he came home and he was really probably lacked his passion. His passion had gone from the game. And me and him had a discussion right through, and it was more or less like, mate, me and you'll keep chatting. We'll see where you get to. He said, look, I'll play club rugby because I want to put something back into my club, which is outstanding. And Marty's gone on to the family farm, and he's really enjoying that space. And I left it in the ball in his court. If he wanted to play, he would have come and asked me. And when he didn't, I knew that in his own world, we'd talk, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He'd talk to me about how he's loving being on the farm, loving doing that, loving just going to training on a Tuesday and Thursday night, not having to do stuff and enjoying life. So look, he's not retired. He's just needs to find his space, and I think it's great for him. It's always challenging as a young man when you come into the end of your career and you have a couple of hiccups with injuries and motivation, and where am I? And I think COVID has made a lot of young men realise, Jesus, there's more to life than rugby. There's more to this, but you've got to live in the moment. And if you can't give a hundy, and Marty just said he couldn't give a hundy, well, I totally respect that.
Yeah, look, he's 28. He's got time to come back once he's rested and had a sabbatical. And we see players like the All Blacks taking sabbaticals. I mean, Brody Retallick sat down in his farm and or his lifestyle block and said, "Yeah, I'm not playing as well." So yeah, hopefully he'll come back if and when he's ready to do so. But so he's not going to be around. Also, I think the other good thing I read about him was that he said that when he was playing for Woodlands, again, he wasn't going to say I have to play 10. He was saying, right, there's other players such as Matt Mackenzie who want to make the Mitre 10 Cups. I'll play in any position around them. And I think he's been a real, by the sounds of things, also not been down there, it sounds like he's been a real club guy for them, which is so having that mentorship role or someone experienced like that for the rest of the other players there would be good as well.
Yeah.
So So which sort of up and coming players do you think people should keep an eye out for? The surprises they have that people won't have seen at Mitre 10 Cup level before in there.
Look, we're very lucky that we've actually got quite an experienced group this year. And what I mean by that is a lot of our boys that have been 1 and 2 years or 1 year. There won't be too many boys coming into our program that haven't been attached with Mitre 10 before, which is a real positive for us. We've created some depth. And so the boys that are into their 2nd and 3rd years, we've made some big shifts in the off season around leadership, accountability, and COVID helped with that. So I'm really happy where they're at the moment. As far as boys coming through, I think we're going to surprise a few teams, and it'll be some boys that aren't household names, but they've been in the Stags for 1 or 2 years, and usually the scoreboard dictates how much people look at a group. And I found that with Northland, we had 2 tough years. In the 3rd year, we had a really successful year, and Jesus, everyone wanted to know who that was and who this was. So we're sort of in that boat now. And there's some real similarities between that, and we're building something really good, and we've got some really good cattle who have come in, who've all played Super Rugby or been part of Super Rugby, so that's going to be great for us. And yeah, we've had a really good couple of weeks. So look, there's most boys in our group, like you're going to see, like, so for examples, even our boys at Super, like your Ethan de Groots, your Joe Walshes, they've got a taste of Super Rugby this year, and they're going really good for us. We got boys right through our team that are looking good. Now there's some young lads that we haven't named yet, but look, I probably won't single out names, but look, I'm pretty excited by the group we've got.
That's good. Also, obviously, the Mitre 10 Cup this year is happening about a month later than normal, so the final will be at the end of November rather than sort of late October. Do you think conditions will change how we'll see the game played, or are you expecting to be pretty similar to what we normally see from Mitre 10 Cup, or will it be more running rugby?
Oh, I think it'll be, mate, we're loving it down here at the moment in Invercargill. It's just about turning into summer, and boys are loving getting out in the sun, doing their training. And so the boys that are arriving, they're going to be coming into what is a really good part of the year, coming out of winter, and the days are getting longer. So it's real positive for us. We're usually, training in the dark and that sort of stuff. So it's going to be really good, and I think teams will play with the intent. I think it's a real positive. I think this is where Mitre 10 should sit all the time. The boys for Super, they get Christmas off and they start after Christmas. So when the All Blacks go away, they come back at the end of November. Then all the Super boys assemble in middle of Jan or whatever it might look like. But it keeps a real clear window for Super Rugby, Club Rugby, and then Mitre 10. So I just think it's, honestly, if they keep it at this, it'll be great, because we usually get to the end of October, and we got sort of an 8-week window where the boys have got to have 2 weeks off and then get back into their programs, and they have Christmas off. By finishing at November, they'll get a couple of weeks off and they'll get their stuff, but they'll go through Christmas and that. When they come back, now we're back on, right back at the end of January. So I think it's how it should be going ahead, going forward.
And also, yeah, with the better weather, should hopefully get better crowds out as well. And yeah, I can only see a positive thing having it in this window, as you say, and also then it leaves a bit more space for either a proper pre-season or for your club competitions to run a bit longer as well, if you want to have something there. So yeah, it's a great window that's in there. So obviously, tough. You say you've had a couple of tough seasons and bad results. What does success look like for the Stags this year? What's your kind of your target?
Well, if I'm being real honest, if we don't make the semis, it hasn't been a successful year. Like there's no point us fronting up to a competition. We're happy to win 2 games, and I think that's probably the mindset that needs to change. And the group have discussed this, so all our actions have to replicate that. So if we feel we're genuine, well, then our actions and what we see has to match that. And we've made some good shifts around that space. But there's no point lining up in a competition if you're happy to win 2 games. And whether we're getting ahead of ourselves or not, I don't really care. But that's how we're approaching the season. If we don't get that, well then we haven't done something right. So we're putting some pretty good things in place, and and we've got good buy-in, and this will be the best group we've assembled in a long time, as far as balance across our group, as far as depth, and there's going to be genuine opportunities and genuine fighting for positions. So, like, you know, we talked about it yesterday with the group. If a Ethan the group, and a Tony Lambourne and a Manaki Selby Rickett aren't playing this week, it won't worry me two hoots. We've got enough depth that we can still put a real competitive team out on the pitch that can do a job. So that's something we haven't been able to do in the last couple of years. So that's going to create its own issues as well. But to me, that's all positive.
Yeah, that's good issues there, where you've got you have to disappoint somebody rather than scrabbling around to find a player to put in. The 7 unfortunately doesn't fit into 2 though, so we're going to have 3 disappointed teams in that in that championship. Clearly, one thing that I'd like to ask head coaches is what's one stat that you like to check post match after a game, because it gives an idea as to how the different coaches sort of approach or see the game slightly. If there's what's your one key stat you like to check each week?
Well, I'm the defensive coach at the moment, so tackle accuracy, and it's probably a big change we've made down here. So in a club competition, they just go out and play their club rugby. Well, we measure action. I don't care how fit you are, or that's not my concern. My concern is that you're doing this many ball carries with this average meters, and you're making this many tackles at this percentage. Now, if I'm seeing those actions, then I'm generally getting exactly what I need. So we're massive on our actions now. So our actions have to reflect our ambition. So if they're not aligned, then you know what I mean? Like, and I'm big on, if you don't need to, if the stat's not important, don't measure it. But if it's important, measure it and use it as how you do things.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview by Rob Baxter, who's the head coach of Exeter Chiefs over in the UK. He was saying that what we do is they have a table each morning after each game which says how many good actions, but their good actions are things like did you do a good kick chase? Did you get off your feet within 2 seconds? Sorry, get back on your feet in 2 seconds. All those small things that sort of build up the pressure or the put it on, which I think is an interesting another way of looking at it that fans don't look at, and it's not a stat that we see when we look at sort of ESPN or whatever. So interesting that that again you're talking about the number of carries, hitting rucks, getting meters carried is all rather than necessarily the result. One thing that you guys have done that has been amazing, and here is I'm going to bring up on screen now, you can't see this, but is your jerseys for this year. I like your playing jersey, but definitely a hat tip to Paladin on those on the training jerseys that you've got done there, folks. Get out and buy those, because those look absolutely obviously that along with the Harlequins jersey that the Blues put out about 4 or 5 years ago, and my 2 favourite jerseys I've seen in New Zealand rugby. So good job there by the marketing department down there, Southland. That's thank you very much for talking us through how your season's been going. Good luck with the season, and hopefully we'll catch up with you when you're up playing someone in the upper North Island, and we can get a game to say hi and catch up.
No, awesome, mate. Always a pleasure. So no, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Please do follow New Zealand Sports Radio on our Facebook page. We'll be, as I say, interviewing as many of the head coaches as we can. We'll also be getting out to as many games as we can and bring you post-match interviews and reactions. So do like our page and please share with your friends.